I think the FBI once was threatened.
What's the FBI gonna do?
We don't have that in our warehouse. How could we have sent it to you?
Sir, we don't sell lamps.
And then even in some cases, there's been like the product in the background. They don't take the picture very well. So it's like the box and I'm like, but isn't that there? Because I can't pay some sort of bill or pay my rent or groceries. I'm like,
then why did you spend $400 on a bag?
Like at some point, it's not bad customer service. You're just a bad customer.
If you're expecting fraud to always show up as a massive hack, a bunch of chargebacks, or a bot storm, think again. In reality, a lot of fraud looks like an email that just says, my box was empty, while the product is sitting in the background of the photo. Today, we're breaking down what actually lands in a customer support inbox and what is fraud versus a legitimate customer complaint. We're extremely excited to have Maggie Kwasnica on today from Bogg Bag. She dives deep into just how much fraud comes from customer support.
I don't think I've ever met a more loyal customer support person. Like, if your package does not get to you and you're in driving distance of Ohio, Maggie will drive.
Yeah, she's willing to drive from New Jersey to Ohio.
Yes,
right?
That's what I meant.
But one of my favorite things is just talking through like just some of her stories around like counterfeits, knockoffs, fake claims of items getting lost.
What do you do when you get a counterfeit that clearly doesn't look like it? I think one of the things that I found the most interesting from our conversation with Maggie is, do you ever take inspiration from some of the counterfeits? Like, if I get a melon orange color that's not a normal colorway, will it inspire the next product line?
Well, and I just think it's just how much happens in the day-to-day operations and how much they have to change from the small percentage of these things happening, right? Like, not many people are dumb enough to accidentally take a live photo of them removing the item partially out of the box, right? Like, but if you're not looking diligently, if you're just clicking quickly, you're not going to notice these things.
I also think Maggie does such a phenomenal job as a CX leader protecting her team. I don't think people realize how mean bad actors are, especially on the chat. If it's a chat interface, right, you don't really put the notion there's a face and a person behind it. So really how she protects her entire organization from taking that brunt and that heat and truly blocking the customers that are abusive.
Yeah, and I think like people are just much meaner online than they are in person. And like just some of the crazy stories where it's like there are ambulance chasers where people are saying, oh, I dropped a 1 pound bag and it broke my toe. You know, just different notions along those lines of like, what are the limits that people are willing to do to get a free item? It's kind of insane.
Yep. Or if you see an Esquire in an email, how do you handle that? Or how do you up that to an upper agent?
Yeah. And I think Maggie's just done such a phenomenal job of keeping such a great client experience, especially as like Bogg Bag has grown rapidly over the past couple of years of like, how do you keep this really positive customer experience, but being able to protect your team, protect the customer experience, and ultimately like do what's right for the client.
Maggie is essentially the Bogg Bag of CX.
Yes.
She is meant for the mom on the go, heading busy day. And
going to the beach, going to soccer. Maggie is basically the Bogg
Bag of CX. She encompasses it all.
She's great.
Truly is.
If this is sitting close to home, check out CustomerXO.com. Every episode, we're breaking down how to spot customer intent already sitting in your support queue, because not all customers and not all complaints are created equal. Maggie, thanks so much for joining. Really grateful for you taking the time and being such a great partner to join. Just would love, kind of like the notion of the podcast is just would love for you to walk through some of the craziest fraud stories you've experienced so far.
Yeah, so I've been with Bogg for almost 3 years this summer. Coming from a background of smart home technology support, wildly different customers, just wildly different. Really great though. Like, our customers are some of the best customers in the world. I'll preface it with that. We've had some very strange cases though. Usually it's like straightforward, like, okay, yeah, we expect this with the product, we expect this issue. But sometimes we're like, where do these people come from? And what are they thinking? How do they think they're gonna get away with this? And it's just like a fun day in the office when one of those comes through. We'll usually have like delivered not received issues, or something's delivered empty box. Never in the history of like customer experience have I had someone say they've received an empty box. just why not say something's been stolen or delivered to the wrong address? And they'll send us a picture of like the box, it's empty. I'm like, okay, but your delivery image shows is intact. And then even in some cases, there's been like the product in the background. They don't take the picture very well. So it's like the box, and I'm like, but isn't that there? And they'll crop it out. They'll send us the same image just with it cropped out, being like, no, that's nothing there. We've had people send back knockoffs as returns. And when we say, hey, it looks like, because like you'll see here, like we have the logo in the back and the buttons and everything, and the knockoffs that come in are just truly, truly bad. Like it's not even just like another brand makes the tote, it's just a straight up knockoff.
So they'll like go on like, let's say Alibaba or something and then send you like the worst, I guess, overseas knockoff you can imagine. Where it probably is like bog with a Q instead of a G.
Yep. Yep, yep, yep. Well, it helps us find the knockoffs and help get them taken down, but, and we'll send the image of like, this is what we received, and they'll try to say, that's not what I sent back, or I mixed up my returns, can you send it back to me? I'm like, if you send us a label, sure, like, we're not paying to send this knockoff back to you.
That's so funny. What is the worst knockoff you've gotten?
I think it's like the holes are just like stretched. It's almost like someone took a picture and like tried to like stretch it. Like the holes are slightly different, the material's super flimsy. Like it's just not the quality or the durability that Bog is known for. And they really try to say like, that's what I received. And I'm like, definitely not. The only reason we have it in our warehouse now is because you sent it to us.
So I'm curious, like in my mind, do you guys have like when you tried to use a fake ID or like people have fake IDs at a liquor store, do you guys just have like a collection of all the worst fake bog bags or like knockoffs that have
We
come back?
do. We actually do. It's really funny in our photo studio, because we have like all of the past designs, the future designs, because obviously, they're taking pictures constantly, creating content. And I will sometimes walk through there because we'll get a question, hey, how does this accessory work with the bag? And so I'm like, okay, let me go actually find out for the customer, take a picture, so on and so forth. And I'll walk by and I'm like, what is this? What is this pile of bag? And I realize I'm like, oh, that's right. They were shooting content of like, hey, here are some of the worst knockoffs we've either found online, had sent back to us, saw in a store. So we actually like created some kind of content around it, but we still held on to them. And it throws me off every single time I walk by.
Have you ever like received a colorway where it's just like, wait, actually, I kind of like this color. We should use it in the future, even though it's something you guys never received.
I think maybe like the concept, like there'll be like a design concept or even, yeah, a color, like, oh, that's a nice color. Shame that it's like terrible bag, like would not hold up for a family day at the beach or any sort of adventure like that.
Can I ask you my favorite story that I know about Bog Bag?
Sure.
Has Bog Bag ever broken a toe? It has been used before as an excuse to get a refund.
So within like a span of a few weeks, we did get two like very sketchy looking emails, and one was from somebody who, yeah, claimed an injury, right? And all they sent us were pictures of the injury, but we had no prior customer communication with them, like no email, no phone call, no even order information, like no previous attempts to make an order, nothing like that. They didn't include where they bought it. They just said, hey, this happened, sending us the pictures. The pictures didn't even include the bag. So I'm like, do you just send this to every random company and say like, hey, this happened with your product? But they did include like a phone number. So my boss actually reached out. She's like, I don't want you reaching out. She's like, I'll reach out. And I think she said she got like static or something very weird. She's like, yeah, no, don't respond to this one. Very sketchy. They're clearly like, what's the term? Like someone's trying to like get you involved in an unnecessary legal battle or
Ambulance
something. I don't know.
chaser or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that was very unexpected on our end. I think probably the wildest case we've seen. We've seen a lot of like, I've received this product and it wasn't actually a bog bag. Like they'll just whatever random thing in their house, they'll be like, yeah, this was in the package. And I'm like, we don't have that in our warehouse. How could we have sent it to you?
Sir, we
Um,
don't sell lamps.
yeah,
Like there's
yeah.
just yeah, it's just not possible. And so I'm just curious, like kind of how do you think about the process of like, hey, this didn't arrive or this didn't come here? Like how do you balance like a real customer experience, right? Like things get lost in the mail, right? Stuff happens. Like curious, how do you approach like protecting against fraud without, declining a good customer experience? Because you guys are a very community-based brand.
Oh yeah, big community, very responsive. The second something goes wrong, don't worry, we hear about it, and honestly, we take action and learn from it to prevent it from happening again. We do have in our checkout is a package protection service. We've partnered with somebody, and so it makes it easier and quicker to find a resolution for the customer because they say, hey, this got lost in transit or this was stolen from my porch, and we can go ahead and process that refund or replacement for them and then know that if they purchase that protection, go ahead and reimburse ourselves. If the customer wants to, they can also just go ahead and reach out to that protection service as well. But, they purchased from us, they're going to reach out to our support and they're expecting a resolution. And so I always tell my agents, I'm like, listen, focus on solving the problem, not following the policy, not in the sense of like, don't follow the policy, but customer first, policy second, see what you can do, what we can adjust, like, reach out to me, right? Say, "Hey, can we make a one-time exception for this customer?" Because honestly, like, it's a very simple, straightforward, like, durable product. There's only so much that can go wrong with it. It's usually around the delivery that we experience something, right? Maybe the carrier placed it on the wrong side. Maybe there are porch pirates out there and they grabbed it. So we never, go into an interaction assuming the worst about like, "Oh, hey, this customer's lying." We're like, "Okay, let's check our checklist of things to look out for." Sometimes maybe it's at the neighbors and the neighbor just hasn't had a chance to bring it over. And we do have those customers that say, "Oh, hey, never mind. My neighbor had it." Or, "Oh, my husband or daughter brought it in and put it somewhere that I didn't notice it." So, the first instinct is let me reach out to support, but then a second later they'll be like, "All good." And, it's nice to hear, it's nice to solve. But if they say, "I've checked with everybody, it's not anywhere, can I please get a replacement?" Like, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt and we'll go ahead and process it because we want them to have a good experience with Bog and we want them to enjoy the product.
I think a lot of people will like rely on y'all and customer support to answer all their like, hey, my package hasn't moved in 3 or 4 days, or my claim hasn't been approved. What should I do? And so it becomes interesting because it's like you said, you want to give like the benefit of the doubt to the customer, but at the same time, it's like, how much time can you be allocating to this as well?
Especially like we've had some opportunities of improvement with some of our carrier partners around us where we kind of know what to expect. Like, okay, we've seen it being picked up, like the different scans, but maybe nothing happens. And like we internally have like a timeline of like, okay, has it been the 7 or 8 days? Like, yes, it sucks for the customer that like that's the timeline it gets for like our local carrier. It's, a massive facility. They've got a lot of packages to get through, but we know eventually they'll get through them. But how do you explain that to the customer? Especially if it's their first time buying, they're like, well, what do you mean? Can't you make it move faster? And I'm like, short of hopping into my car, driving over to the facility, somehow finding your package and driving it to you, which like there have been times where I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I'll drive it. Like Ohio, sure, I'll drive there. Have not, but honestly, like I would if it meant that I could get your package to you sooner rather than later. So
No, I think that's a really interesting thing, and because kind of the way we kind of view fraud, just generally, is just it's essentially taking advantage of a data silo, right? The communication between what you can control or not control, what can you see or not see. So whether it's a package getting lost or someone stealing it, something not arriving back in the warehouse, maybe someone has the wrong day and they accidentally forgot to put something in, right? Like, I'm curious, how do you think about just data silos and like stitching together information across the business or even your partners to be able to do a better or enable a better customer experience?
so anytime that we're developing a new process, we're like, oh, hey, we've had all of these instances. Let's, figure out a way to streamline this. There's always those one-offs, right? Where it's like, well, this won't fit into the box. How do we take care of that? And so I think there's only so far you can go with the data that you have in terms of like setting things in stone. I always like to think of like we haven't chiseled it into stone, we have it written down on paper. Like it's a working document. We can always update it. and I think it should always be updated. I don't think it makes sense to say, "Hey, this is the way we're gonna do things, never change it," um, because your customers will be the first to let you know, like, "This return policy, it doesn't work for me," and I'm like, "Okay, let's look at other, competitors, other brands, how do they do it? How do they make their customer happy while also still maintaining that business?" I don't know if that answered your question, but that's the best I'm gonna be able to do.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a really complicated thing as logistics gets more and more complicated and the consumer experience and different things change, right? Like I think it gets harder to actually deliver an end-to-end consumer experience that is transparent because sometimes the transparency that you're maybe getting from, let's just say, a carrier is not as transparent as you are expected to be with your customers and merchants.
Yeah, especially if they have their own experiences with those carriers. They're like, "I've never had an issue with this carrier." And I'm like, "That's wonderful. I've had an issue with every single one of them." And it's like, it's not surprising to us at this point, but we do our best to navigate through it and just, again, it's like find the resolution for the customer. Don't, like, we can sit here and complain about what the problems are, or we can stand up and do something about it. And so I encourage my team to like, let's just solve it. Let's make them happy. I think I looked up in ChatGPT once. I was like, it's like that trend of explain my job to a 5-year-old. And so I was like, okay, what is customer experience? And so they're like, you're the happiness helpers. I'm like, the goal is to make the customer happy. And I like that so much. I was like, the next day, I'm like, team, I need you to reframe how you think of this. Like, we're not just customer service. We're not just here answering calls. We are the happiness helpers.
That makes a ton of sense. And yeah, like I think when you're designing policies, it's how do we make as many of our customers as happy as possible?
Yeah. While also, not giving away the farm and keeping it simple for the team internally. Because sometimes when you have too many hoops to jump through, it slows down your agents, it slows down your ability to get anything done, so it's like finding that happy balance.
No, 1,000% agreed. And that's where, like, I think it's just interesting as, like, obviously no fraud acquired Yofi, we focus more on post-purchase fraud, right? Like, we very much believe the future of fraud is sitting in customer support, right? And I can't imagine how many claims your agent gets, whether it's my item didn't arrive, I broke my toe, different things like that, where it's like people are creative. Like, I'm curious, like, what are you seeing just trend wise, like even over the past couple months, like past year, like what has changed, or how are fraudsters trying different tactics?
We did have someone. I love the people who are repeat offenders with the same brand, because like, and it'll be months apart, a year apart. They'll be like, "Oh, I never received this." And we're like, "We had this same issue with you last year and we sent you a replacement and you said you also haven't gotten the replacement. How many times can you order something to the same address?" It's really just insane what these people think they can get away with. And if you don't give them what they want, it's bad customer service. And I'm like, no, bad customer service is if we never get back to you, if we're rude to you on the phone, if we haven't even tried to help you. There's, policies we have to stick to. There's only so much leeway and courtesies we can extend. Like, at some point, it's not bad customer service. You're just a bad customer. And that happens.
Yeah, I think one theme we've been seeing just across these, but just across the industry, is that the customer is not always right. That has changed like dramatically. And I think a lot of that is the digital aspect of things. And we've talked about, like, I'm sure some of your agents have gotten harassed for saying no to clients. I'm sure these different things. And it's crazy what people are willing to do behind a screen or behind a veil, where it's like, hey, you would never do these things in person. Right. And just the digital aspect makes people feel, for whatever reason, comfortable to be able to go do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've gotten some bad threats over email, whether it's we're gonna report you to the BBB, we're gonna contact the authorities. I'm like, you're gonna call the cops to say this brand like fraud scam. I don't know. I think the FBI once was threatened, or like they threatened to contact them.
What's the
Um,
FBI gonna do? You know what I mean?
that's what I'm saying. They're gonna tell you, lady, just like file a chargebacks were threatened.
Or the FBI will look into you and see
Yeah,
what the
like, do
full
you do you really want them looking at you? It's just the most insane things. People have tried to tell me that they know better about, like, what it is. They're like, "No, no, you can absolutely do that." And I'm like, "Ma'am, I do this day in and day out. I promise you I've looked at every possible way of trying to accommodate you. Like, just some things are not within the scope of possibility."
Well, I think this will This is a common theme that's come up a bunch. Why do people think the Better Business Bureau have authority?
It's not that they don't have authority. I think they provide a sense of comfort in like, hey, this brand is registered with the BBB and you want to have a good rating. Like we honestly have, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 comments on there. It's not much. So it's like I wouldn't use that as your source of truth, because that's when people are really upset and don't know where else to go that they'll reach out there. But internally, like you don't get to see that, we've had a whole conversation with them. We've offered them multiple things. Some people just don't want to be happy. They just want to continue yelling. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. I would like to just get you a resolution and move on. Yeah, I don't know. They're like, oh, we're gonna reach out to the BBB. And I'm like, okay. And we will respond to the claim or whatever it is and include, our side of the thing, and then PBB will decide, okay, who's right here.
It becomes like an interesting experience, especially with things like this, where I think people expect the most out of customer support being like the face of the brand, the talk of the brand, and everything. So they expect you to answer all their problems, their solutions, give them the discount, give them the item for free, and everything and more. So essentially, you're a therapist, the head of marketing, and all these different areas and more.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely been on some calls where they're telling me all of the details about like what they're experiencing personally, what struggles they're going through, and they just needed this bag. And I'm like, I understand. I'm like, some of this probably would be better for you to talk about with a friend over a cup of coffee. I would really just like to help you, untwist your straps or submit your return or whatever it is that you're trying to assist that at this point it's been like escalated to a supervisor, and I'm like, this, you really could have stuck with a level 1 agent and still would have gotten the same result, but that's okay. Like I'm here because when my agents say, hey, this person's asking for a supervisor, I always assume the worst, and sometimes I'm like, that's okay. But I walk out of that call and I go, what can we do to improve our external, support sources, our help center? What can I do to like help my agents feel empowered that when they're sort of on the snowball towards an escalation, they go, you know what? Hang on. Let me, see what I can do for you. And like put them on hold for a minute or two and then come back and say, okay, this is what I'm able to do for you. Like, how can I develop a process that the agent doesn't feel like they just have to pass it off to me? They can sort of help the customer by themselves. Cause I think that's also more impressive to the customer if it's like, oh, this agent was able to help me versus like, oh, I had to reach out to a supervisor to get the help that I needed. Like it's never a good look.
Also, how it's always bad. You know a call's gonna start bad is if the first thing someone says on a call, "Can you get me to an agent?" You
Yeah.
know it's gonna be a bad call.
Yeah. Think
Um,
like honestly, I've, we're human. We have to make calls to doctors' offices, to whatever. And it's like you go through the automated machine and I'm like, please just operator, connect me to a person. That's why like with all of these tools that are coming out, like some of it, I'm like, yeah, let's do that. That's gonna get, our customer response quicker. But sometimes quicker isn't always better. Like there's so many tools that have come forward. It's like, oh, we can add this tool for AI for your phone. And I'm like, if someone's calling me, like, odds are they wanna talk to a person, like, they don't wanna talk to a machine, they don't wanna press buttons, like, if they wanted to do that, they would've just emailed us. So I'm, like, not the biggest fan of implementing that sort of technology onto the phone, aside from, like, press which department you wanna reach, which, customer support, number 1, so that's where we are. Um, but yeah, it's getting crazy out there.
I think it's as frustrating to the consumer as it is for y'all, because I'm sure, like, you guys get flagged in your internal systems, like, "This is this problem," and if you use any type of, like, AI or automated tools on top, I'm sure you can get a lot lost, especially in the weeds.
Yeah, yeah, like, I, for the longest time, was terrified to implement anything that was automatic, at least in terms of, like, replying to the customer, because I wanna make sure that, they they didn't sign up to be beta testers in any of these tools or platforms, like, they just said, "Hey, I have a bag, I have a problem, I need help, and I want to get them that help." But when you have, 1 or 2 agents who can answer those emails and it's the same questions over and over. I get it. You wanna make sure that you're consistent in your response, that you get those response out there quickly. Um, but eventually I said, okay, let's try it. Even if, one customer gets a not so great response because something wasn't programmed correctly or the resource was incorrect, it gives you an opportunity to learn and improve and make sure that that response is never sent again, and that, yeah, you improve your customer service, because the next person who does get the right response and does get it quickly goes, "Oh my God, your support is so great. Like I'll be shopping here for forever." And I'm like, "That's wonderful. That's exactly how we want you to feel walking away from the experiences. I want to buy more Bog. I know I'll be supported. Love this brand."
What is the most ridiculous story, Maggie, you got of why someone needed their refund on their Bog Bag today?
Like, honestly, it surprises me, and this is just like from my personal experience, how they're like, because I can't pay some sort of bill or pay my rent or groceries. I'm like,
Then why did you spend $400 on a bag?
that, like, I get it. It's like it's either it's Christmas or it's a gift giving occasion or you just wanted to splurge on yourself. But I'm just like, take a beat, take a beat, wait maybe until there's a sale, wait until you're like pay the bills first and then do the shopping. It scares me. It scares me how much. And but even if we say, okay, we'll make that courtesy and we'll release the funds, like it still takes a couple days for those funds to go back through the banking partners. So I'm like, it's done on our end. And then 2 days later, they're like, I still don't have the money. And I'm like, it's gone from us. Like,
So you're saying Bible here. Bills, then Bog.
yeah. Bills the bog, please. Please, like, we want you to have the bog, but we also want you to, like, be able to live your life with the bog.
Awful question for you. How many do you think are actually legitimate?
It's I try not to think about it too much, because at the end of the day, I'm like, it could be legitimate. And if it's not, that's a what it was the saying, it's like that's a reflection of their character and not mine. Like if I choose to believe the best in you and that, you're truly experiencing this issue, I'm going to do everything I can to help. And, if we see enough people that might not be in that situation take advantage of that, that's when those policies are developed to prevent fraud. And now you're kind of ruining it for everybody else that might actually be having that legitimate issue. And right now we could help them. A year or two from now, if enough people do it, it's like, yeah, how do you believe whether it's real or not?
That's why I love what we built, but that's like the hardest part about intentionality. It's a 50-50 bag if someone's going to be real or fake, and it's so hard to detect.
Yeah. And then it's the worst if you say, because like there have been times customers have reached out, hey, I tried to place an order and we look and no fraud has flagged them. We'll take a look at the details. I'm like, okay, how severe is this fraud? Like, could it be just be, they happen to be on vacation when they're doing their shopping and they're just, in a weird location or whatever. And so sometimes we'll say, hey, try a private browser. Not to say, that's the best way to go around it, but we've had people even try that and they're like, yeah, it's still getting flagged. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, there's too many red flags for me to approve it. Other times I'm like, you know what? This is probably going to come back to bite me, but go ahead, add them to the allow list, let them place an order. Sometimes it's worked out. They get to place their order. They're happy. We have no further issues or communication with them ever again. And we assume it's all the best. And sometimes it's suddenly, I didn't get it. Oh, wait, I did get it, but it's missing something. Oh, it's the wrong item. Like, and it's just a snowball of things that are wrong. Like my dog ate my homework, like every excuse kind of thing that you could think of, they're suddenly throwing at you. And it's just a never ending email exchange of like, you know what? We're refunding you. You can keep the product. Just please stop emailing us. So,
Yeah. Well, one question I have for you, Maggie, just generally is like, how do you think about like policy and personalization coming together? Right. Like, especially, I know we talked a little bit about AI, but just generally, like, how do you, yeah, how do you think about like personalization, different policies for different folks, depending on how good they are, how bad they are? Like, I'm curious, like, in your mind, how would one go about architecting essentially like personalization at scale, which y'all have?
yeah, because I mean, you have the larger community of customers, and policy could work for them for 90% of them. And then you have the 10% where it's like, hey, we've had people reach out. I'm not able to drop this. I'm not able to print up the return label. So we said, okay, you purchase this, we provide the return label. You just got to be able to print it. We try to help them. They'll be like,
It's
oh,
50 cents from UPS or FedEx to print, and most of the time they give it to you for free if you do a survey. So
that, or like it's already prepaid. You just, yeah, ask them to print it. like you still get more money back as well. Like you're not returning a $5 item, like at that point it wouldn't be worth it. Um, but yeah, you kind of have to be like, okay, yes, I don't think any policy will ever work for anybody 100% of the time. I think you gotta pick and choose your battles and say like, okay, if this doesn't work, make that exception because it's better for the customer to walk away with a feeling of, okay, they did what they could for me. And even though maybe I didn't keep the product, I returned it or I didn't like it, um, the customer support heard me out. They heard my feelings, validated my feelings, took my feedback into account. Because a lot of the times, like if I hear the same comment over and over and over again about something, I'll finally be like, okay, let's take a closer look at this. What's actually causing the issue here? Is it maybe true for everybody, but these are just the loudest people who have said something about it? Does it truly work? Does it work for us, for, our internal agents? Yeah, there really is a lot of opportunity for personalization, but I think you need to have a basis that you start with. And then from there, I mean, that's why it's called a one-time courtesy, right? You make an exception, you help a customer out, but if you do it for everybody, then what's the point of the policy? And I think the people who reach out for help are the ones who, yeah, maybe need that exception, whereas everybody else, they'll be like, okay, that's the policy. I'm sending it back. It's my responsibility to drop it off. Like, there's only so much support can do for you. And they do their
What do you
best.
mean? I thought you were gonna replace my therapy, solve all my problems, call for my doctor's appointment, and everything for me. You're
Might as
essentially
well, right?
I guess you guys are like the mom of e-commerce, right? The mothers of e-commerce.
Yep, 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 yep. We're the happiness helpers, and that extends more than just the product that you're purchasing.
Well, I can know when I, order my Bog Bag once my bills are paid. Hopefully, Maggie, if it gets stuck, I get to see you in person.
Yeah, there you
See you
go.
driving down.
Just, call us up. They'll be like, "Hey, Maggie," like, I'll get a Teams message, "Maggie, someone's calling for you personally." I'll be like, "I got this. I got this." But honestly, like, there have been days where, because I'm not in there directly answering every email and phone call anymore, right? That's what the agents are for. That's what our tools are for. But sometimes it's good to hop back in there, to hop back on the phone line. I think I had to because we were getting new agents and I needed to have some recordings for training. So I was hopping in there and answering calls and I was like getting so many different scenarios. It kind of like inspires you of like, oh, how can we improve this policy or how can we improve this process? Because if you don't do it for a really long time, suddenly you hop in there and be like, oh, how do I file this carrier claim again? Or what's the next step here? Like it makes you think. And then you're like, I wouldn't want to do this every day. Like, why am I making my agents do this? Or answering the tickets. I was trying to help them and I'm like, man, we really need an AI tool because to just close out, positive review. Great. Thank you. Like you just want to close out the ticket and get to the ones that actually need help. And I'm just like, man, I really want to help out. And so it like forces you to be better for you and your team.
Fraud has expanded from checkout. It now encompasses returns, chargebacks, and claims. Willow protects your entire customer experience. Learn more at willow.ai. So, when are you ordering a bog and saying FedEx messed up on the delivery, so Maggie just appears at your door?
Yeah, pretty soon. I will. Well, Maggie's great. So excited to like see her again in person. But like, ultimately, like, yeah, it's kind of crazy the lengths and like really amazing the lengths that she's willing to go to for
But
the
it's
customer.
not because she has to, it's just genuinely who she is. And I think that says a lot about Maggie herself, but also the brand that Bog is.
Oh, agreed. And I think that's the whole notion of why we're doing customer XO is that like a lot of these folks they live and die and care so much about the brand and the experience and every asset of it. And that's why that's why we put this show to be able to highlight the work that they do because ultimately these brands would not be successful if it wasn't for Maggie or people like Maggie.
And I think this is going to make me sound like a broken record, but this is why we want to highlight these experiences and show the good side of CX because everyone's so quick to go to, we're not sure if it's real or not, the Better Business Bureau and make a complaint. I really think part of what we do at Customer XO is highlight all the work, the blood, sweat, and tears to have that one good positive experience and also Maggie appearing at your front door.
Yeah, and I think like one of the like the common threads is it's thankless,
Yep.
right? Like the bad experience is escalated. It's a letter to the CEO. It's something along those lines. But for the million really good customer experiences, and like there are people, humans behind this, and ultimately, like, how do we unlock these better personalized experiences?
If you click your heels 3 times at a FedEx store and say "Bog Bag, Bog Bag, Bog Bag," Maggie does appear.
True. You have to turn the lights off though at the FedEx store.
Yep, and it has to be at witching hour.
Yeah, there's a lot of notions of that. But ultimately, like, very grateful, and I think like Maggie's just like a great example and a great like person to really understand like how do you balance customer experience, how do you enhance it while protecting your team and against fraud.
Yep. The next episode is super juicy. We explore how online shopping culture has changed customer behavior, why fraudsters think the system owes them, and how AI might actually help support teams fight back. I hope you're ready. This might be shocking. The customer isn't always right, but their intent is. We'll see you next time.